Okay, so hopefully by this point you've watched the entire lesson on matrix multiplication. Even though there's lots of interesting stuff in that lesson, there's not much computationally to include here, except for just what it means, or the syntax for multiplying two matrices together in Sage. So I have that predefined here. The syntax is exactly what you would expect it is, A star B, where A and B are matrices that you're allowed to multiply together. So I have predefined code here where I've predefined a matrix A, I've predefined a matrix B, and then I have three print statements down here. The first one will simply just print out the matrix A that we're working with. The second one will print out the matrix B we're working with. And then the third line will print out the product. So let's click evaluate here and see if there's anything to learn. Great, so here the matrix A that I've predefined is a 2 by 4 matrix. The matrix B that I've predefined is a 4 by 3 matrix. Now, are we allowed to take A and multiply by B here? The answer is yes, because the number of columns of A is the same as the number of rows of B. When we multiply these two matrices together, what type of object do we produce? Well, we should end up with a new matrix, AB, where the number of rows is the same as the number of rows of A, and the number of columns is the same as the number of columns of B. Well, the number of rows of A is 2, the number of columns of B is 3, and sure enough, when we multiply A times B, we produce a 2 by 3 matrix. From a shape perspective, this is certainly lining up with what we learned. Of course, the advantage here is that I didn't have to do any arithmetic to multiply these two matrices together. I just want to show you a few things here. So this matrix A is 2 by 4, and this matrix B is 4 by 3. So A times B makes sense, but would it make sense to multiply B times A? Well, we can ask ourselves, well, B is 4 by 3 and A is 2 by 4. So if you tried to do that, maybe from the row perspective, you would be trying to take inner products of the rows in B, which have 3 coordinates, with the columns of A, which only have 2, and that doesn't make sense. So that shouldn't make sense. So if I tried to do it here, let's see what happens. Good. So an error is thrown here. So we get what's called a type error. And if we scroll down to the bottom, it should tell us what's wrong. So basically it has jargon here which says we can't take a 4 by 3 matrix and multiply it by a 2 by 4 matrix. It simply doesn't make sense. So that's exactly what we would want from a computer program. If we tried to multiply two things that are impossible to multiply together, the program should throw an error. So of course, you should learn how to do all this by hand from both perspectives. So you should learn how to do this from the column perspective as well as the row perspective. But while you're working on problems, I don't see the point in suffering through them. We have a computer, or we have computers, and that's what computers are for. So please use this and save as much time as you can.